Officially official. We've been talking about this for a long time, calling this thing to an absolute T the entire way. Brandon Aiyuk officially requesting a trade out of San Francisco. Will the Niners grant him the request? Will they trade him away? If he gets traded, he's probably going to Washington. Some will say Pittsburgh's going to get involved. And more teams could get involved now that this is in the open. This is something that Aiyuk wants, and teams will be triggered to make a phone call and an inquiry. And the Niners are definitely going to potentially, open the phone lines and try and maybe get something done. The Niners don't have to do anything, but there is a lot of tension and drama and unneeded stress and problems that come with keeping a disgruntled player that wants out, that you can't sign, that you're not going to come to terms on a contract. You don't use him in the way that he wants to get paid to be used. So you want to get something versus lose him. And franchise tagging him isn't the easiest thing to do next offseason when you're going to have to sign Brock Purdy to a monster contract and tie up money trying to trade him. So the Niners will be proactive. We've called this thing to a T the entire way. The Fantasy Football Show emergency live stream. Breaking news. Brandon Aiyuk officially requesting a trade live stream begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So here we are. Smitty called this thing to a T. We called the Deebo Samuel thing to a T. We called this thing to a T. And somehow a Niner fan's going to come in and say something like, everything's fine. Everything's okay. Deebo did it. Deebo did it. It'll be fine. That's the thing we hear the most. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And for those that think that this is Aiyuk's fault, this is not Aiyuk's fault at all. This is Shanahan and John Lynch's fault. Because this guy could have easily been signed at the $50 to $65 million guaranteed amount when Ridley signed his contract. And I don't want to hear they've been working on it. They've been having discussions. But they don't make any decisions or ink people until July and August. So even if they got kind of on the same page, the Niners would have dragged their feet. And they did until the value went up and Aiyuk's priced out of a potential re-signing. This has absolutely been the easiest thing to see coming this entire offseason. And we've called every single bit of it. Every single step of this path we've called. Let me read the report to you that's right in front of your face. This one spread out all over the place. This is definitely confirmed now. If there's somebody jumping the gun on something, it's definitely at the highest level. So I'm not feeling worried about reporting on this, by the way. All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners have not been willing to engage in negotiations since May. So Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. And he wants to go play with JD5, his best friend. He wants to go play in Washington, where he would become an absolute impacting player and take the Washington Commanders into Houston Texan territory like the Texans did last year. What the Texans did last year, the Commanders could do in the first year out if they got a Deebo or an Aiyuk or someone like that. So, and people are going to laugh at that, and that's fine. especially if Aiyuk goes to Washington. You're going to have a lot of people going, this won't work, and they're going to want to pile it on. They're just sick of Aiyuk. Get him out of here. The Niner fan base turned on him like I predicted. Just like they turned on Deebo. I was there to defend Deebo every step of the way while people turned on him, and I predicted this. I went on Raj's live stream, and I said that the Niner fan base, step one, Niner fan base will slowly start to turn on him. Get him out of here. Kick rocks. He's not worth it. He's being a diva. When initially there was none of that. None of that. And I even said his personality can be misunderstood because he's kind of a person that comes off a little more snarky about it. A little bit more, and he's not, but he comes off that way, and people are reading into this guy as if he's creating all this drama, it's all his fault, but there's so much impact to the situation. Like, what happens to Deebo Samuel if Aiyuk is traded out of San Francisco, which the Niners are not obligated to meet the request of Brandon Aiyuk to get traded. They don't have to do anything. They don't. Let's make that abundantly clear. They can hold on to Aiyuk. Aiyuk will be forced to play, and he will. He'll play on his fifth-year option, and he'll bank on himself at some point. But his request for a trade was the next logical move. And I said it the entire way. Why? Because if you don't come to an agreement, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to bank on myself and play on my fifth-year option. Your first instinct is to say, well, let's go see if somebody else will pay me. And if somebody else will pay me, then I'll go ahead and take that instead of trying to bank on myself, maybe getting hurt. But we called this the entire way. It's what we do. It's what we do. We go live when news breaks. We dissect things better than anybody. And we come in here and we talk about all the different avenues. All the different avenues. Deebo Samuel goes to the mother freaking moon.
To the moon.
If Aiyuk is traded out of San Francisco. And Ricky Pearsall goes to the mother freaking moon.
To the moon.
And I've got, we're live on Instagram right now, and all the Niner fans are just, let him go. He has no leverage. Hold his ass. Let him play. Simple. You said it. They have everybody in the comments. It's so funny. Anyway, and I'm not a Niner hater at all. I love Brandon Aiyuk, ASU. Okay, I even am the one that you probably heard about Aiyuk from if you're a Niner fan, because I'm the one that started telling everybody to draft him in San Francisco. Second, I love Deebo Samuel. I love Ricky Pearsall. I love Isaac Guerrero. I am a Kyle Shanahan doubter, and that rubs off on people the wrong way. They think I'm a Niner hater. I'm not a Niner hater. I'm a hater of incompetence at the coaching level. And Shanahan is incompetent when it comes to personnel decision making. And you can say whatever the hell you want, but you know you hold no confidence in anyone's mind when you start talking out of your mouth about how Kyle Shanahan is a good personnel decision maker. Botched the Jimmy G situation from beginning to end. How much heat did I take when I said Jimmy Garoppolo's not even a top 32 quarterback, doesn't even deserve a starting job? And what did Davante Adams tell all of you recently on the rookie Netflix documentary? That he was getting killed out there and he had to get out of there. And if Jimmy Garoppolo stayed, he wouldn't be there. Jimmy had to be removed and never put back in the lineup again for Adams to play football in LV. And that's what they did. But everybody came for me. Oh, Smitty, you're wrong about Jimmy G. Jimmy G was awful. He was garbage. He threw hospital balls for a living. And now we're in the same boat. Defending Kyle Shanahan, defending John Lynch. Does anybody realize when you defend those two, when it comes to personnel decisions, you're putting a receipt out there? They make awful decisions when it comes to personnel. They continue to. The same thing with Deebo ended badly for Deebo. When someone walks in and says something like, Smitty, honestly, Deebo did this. It worked out fine. It didn't work out fine. That's the point. Aiyuk holds out like he's been. He's going to be likely injured if he doesn't get on a field soon, practicing with his team, jiving with his team. And if he doesn't get hurt, he'll have a bad year like Deebo did, like Bosa did. This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint. Impact to this thing. Learn knows. You don't want to mess with Learn, by the way. Learn is not a man you want to mess with. Okay? Learn says Kyle is trash. All around, Smitty. Learn knows what's up. One of the bigger Niner fans you'll find. Learn's got my back. Can't stand. Here's another. Learn another comment. Says can't stand Kyle, a pure narcissist. Learn appreciate you. Deebo Samuel to the mother freaking moon if this ends up
To the moon.
fruition. If Deebo's the main dog, the top dog pass catcher in San Francisco, you don't think he's having a 1,300 yard receiving season with probably 300 or so rushing yards with probably, I don't know, 10 touchdowns receiving, 2 or 3 more rushing, at least a 13 or 14 touchdown season, and at least, I would say at least 1,500 total yards from Deebo Samuel. Deebo's going to the mother freaking moon if this ends up happening. Ricky Pearsall getting on the field early. This guy's an absolute marvel. Another guy I talked about. Another guy I went on Raj. If Raj is in here, I can't request Raj in because I'm on YouTube right now. But I went on Raj's live stream and I said, if you trade Aiyuk, just like I told everyone on Raj's live stream to draft Brandon Aiyuk. Who? Remember, Go Gadget Arms? I said, Go Gadget Arms. Everyone's like, oh, Aiyuk. You drafted Aiyuk. How did that work out? Now you don't like him, but you loved him. Told Raj, told everyone. If you trade Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel, bring in Ricky Pearsall, McConkey, or Malachi Corley, and you will be just fine. Ricky Pearsall is a machine. Ricky Pearsall's a weapon. Ricky Pearsall's one of the better route running wide receivers we've seen come out of college in quite some time. His footwork. This guy, you don't skip much of a beat going from Aiyuk to Ricky Pearsall. I know some people don't want to hear that, but you don't. Losing Deebo would be much more devastating because this is a guy that is the best yak yardage wide receiver maybe in the history of the NFL, but definitely in the last 10 years. There isn't a wide receiver better than Deebo Samuel in the yak yardage department. Period. The last 10 years, no one touches him. 3 years he's been number 1 in yak yards. No one's ever done that. No one in the history of the NFL has ever been 3 times. Especially in a 10-year period. 3 times yak yardage leader. On top of, in the same year, yak yardage leader and yards per catch leader. Do people understand how impressive that is for a wide receiver like Deebo catching the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage? How in the hell are you number 1 in yak yards catching the football at or behind the line of scrimmage? How are you number 1 in yak yards and yards per catch? How are you number 1 in yards per catch when you're catching the ball at the line of scrimmage? Does anybody understand how special Deebo is? If Deebo's left, I don't want to say alone, on an island, because Pearsall's there, CMC's there, Kittle's there. Don't even say Juwan Jennings. 19 catch Juwan Jennings. Don't even say it. Deebo Samuel goes to the mother freaking moon. Deebo Samuel is a moon man for a reason, for consecutive years in a row on this channel. Moon man.
The moon men dropping loads in outer space.
Deebo Samuel doesn't sit on here for fun. He's a moon man extraordinaire 2 years in a row for a reason. Ricky Pearsall isn't a
The moon men dropping loads
moon
in
man
outer space.
extraordinaire long term for a reason. He moved from the long-term moon slot right there straight into a normal slot the moment this thing pops off, if it pops off. 2 of my moon men are 49ers wide receivers, Ricky Pearsall, Deebo Samuel, contingent upon a trade happening. Can you imagine what this does for fantasy football? The doors this opens. It does close some doors. Jahan Dotson, McLaurin, does kind of hamper their ability a little bit. It certainly does. It certainly does. There's no doubt about it. But JD5's value goes up. That's more important than anything. JD5's value is the most important piece of this entire equation. JD5 is on his way to becoming a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. Better than Lamar Jackson. He's going to be better than Lamar Jackson on every single level, every single category. One of the better gunslingers to come out of college in the last decade. People just don't understand it. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know ball. And that's fine. We know there's a lot of fandom injected into these kinds of conversations. People that don't know that JD5 is coming, it's almost near embarrassing. If JD5 gets handed Brandon Aiyuk, he's fast-tracking himself and the entire team into the Houston Texans 2023 in 2024. You have a Houston Texans situation this year, not next year, not in 2 years, this year. The Washington Commanders are the Houston Texans 2023 if they get Brandon Aiyuk. If Brandon Aiyuk is playing with his best friend, JD5, the rapport is going to be instant. This is like stepbrothers, becoming best friends, pushing the bunk beds together, more room for activities. Teams have reached out to the Niners. Yeah, I've got that right here. I'm trying to get through everything, bro. I'm trying to get through everything. I appreciate it. Phone lines are going to be open in a second so we can have a discussion, but there's so much impact to all of this. And Schefter, this is according to Schefter, other teams have reached out and spoken to the 49ers. They've been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who officially has requested a trade. The 49ers open training camp next week. We don't even know if this team's going to be smart enough. No offense to my Niner fans out there. Smart enough to trade him and get value from the disgruntled wide receiver that's likely going to get hurt if he continues to press this thing and hold out anyway. You're going to potentially lose this guy. You can say the franchise tag all you want. You can keep saying things like that. Smitty, he has no leverage. He has no leverage. Of course his leverage is limited, but he does have leverage. Disgruntled situations have leverage, ability, capability of applying pressure to teams to make moves. Aiyuk, there's definitely leverage. It's just not the leverage that he would want that can force himself out no matter what. There's definitely something that that needs to take place in addition to him just being disgruntled. There has to be, hey, loss of value. Hey, we're scared. Here's the report from Schefter, where Schefter says many teams have reached out, but the Niners reportedly have no interest in trading him. This is not something that I agree with. The Niners had every intention of trading either Deebo or Aiyuk on draft day. They couldn't get it done. They drafted Ricky Pearsall in round 1, partially, in my opinion, in my educated, very logical opinion. They drafted Ricky Pearsall in somewhat of a panic in anticipation that Deebo or Aiyuk would be moved on day 2 because the Buffalo Bills kept moving back and eventually moved to the 2.1. In many think, and I'm included, that there was still negotiations going on. They wanted to buy time to day 2. They let a 12-hour period kind of lapse, and then a trade didn't get done. The Niners were still happy with their selection. They get the 5th-year option by even drafting Ricky in round 1. There's a lot of things that make sense for it. But to suggest Schefter, this, Schefter is being reckless. He continues to be reckless when he starts speculating on things and he doesn't fully know for sure. Do you think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are telling anybody what they're doing, what they want to do? Do you think because the Niners say we're not interested, that isn't part of posturing? If you're trading in fantasy football, are you letting people know you're trading? I'm trading today. Sometimes you could use that as a tactic to be like first come, first serve on a hot commodity. That can work. But for the most part, you're not telegraphing what you're doing. You're not showing your hand. Yeah, we're trading them. You want people to come and compete and try and give you the highest dollar amount for your prospect. You're not trying to just give him away. Obviously, the Niners don't have to do anything. The Niners have control of the situation to a degree, but at the same time, if he comes in late, he comes in and gets hurt, they try and phase him out a little bit here and there, just because if he's not the future and Ricky Pearsall is sitting here, you don't think the team wants to get Ricky Pearsall versed? You don't think Jennings is nice? Yeah, Jennings is not. 19 catch Jennings. Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on Jawan 19 catch Jennings. This guy right here has some leverage. Don't kid yourself. Don't act like you think you know what's going on because you want something to go a certain way. He has leverage. No doubt about it. Trade requested. It's official. Deebo's value to the moon if this happens. Pearsall's value to the moon if this happens. Aiyuk's value down if it doesn't happen, because he's going to drag it out and push this thing, and the likelihood of at least bad play, like Deebo. Deebo's playing to a T. People come in here into this live stream and go, Smitty, Deebo did this. You don't even know. Deebo did this. And they still say that. There's people in the chat right now. Deebo did this. Deebo did this. We know that. I said that. I've told you that. I've told you that. You get me a coffee. You get me a coffee. I'm the one that told you this is Deebo's blueprint. You didn't tell me. We told you. To a T, we've called this thing. Every single step of this. The only thing that was out of order was the trade request, which I think there was potentially some sort of leakage on the first time this got out, and then it got buttoned up. Like, maybe let's let that leak and not necessarily request it, see if anything gets moving. We've called this thing to a T. Not one thing has been wrong. Deebo Samuel requesting the trade. This was the next logical step. If the Niners weren't going to pay him, someone else might. And if they don't, he'll bank on himself. Why? Think about this logically. If he's going to sleepwalk into a $30 million a year deal, and let's say $80 million guaranteed is what he wants and he can't get it, he's going to sleepwalk into a $30 million a year deal, $85 million guaranteed next offseason. The market's going up. CeeDee Lamb inks his deal, the market goes up again. CeeDee Lamb gets $115 million guaranteed, the guaranteed market value goes up. And when someone says that JJ or Lamb or Chase's deal doesn't relate or have anything to do with, where's my, come on. If Smitty, JJ and Jamar Chase's deals have nothing to do with Aiyuk, you don't know ball. You don't know ball. Stop talking. You're embarrassing yourself. Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb's guaranteed money absolutely affect Brandon Aiyuk. It's all a cobweb. Everything's connected. When the top of the web gets dragged up, every connected piece gets dragged up with it. Brandon Aiyuk, his guaranteed money will be easily what he wants next offseason. He could sleepwalk into it. He is better to bank on himself. The wide receiver market is exploding. And the two biggest contracts to hit the wide receiver market, period, have yet to drop. JJ's massive $34 million deal is going to end up being the third biggest contract in the league at the wide receiver position. CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase will both exceed his $110 million guaranteed. They will both get 112 or 115. One might get 112, one might get 114. Brandon Aiyuk will sleepwalk into $80 million plus guaranteed. The Niners probably don't want to pay him $70 million flat. They probably want to pay him 68, 69. The Niners screwed the pooch on this. John and Kyle diarrheaed all over the bed. And you can try and defend it all you want, but you're in a losing battle. John and Kyle diarrheaed the bed. Because when Ridley signed his deal, you could have got Aiyuk to accept a $65 million guaranteed deal. Easy. Don't blame this on Aiyuk. Don't say Aiyuk's being a diva. His value went up, and he deserves every penny because the Niners sat on their hands. John and Kyle are horrible at off-season contracts. They're pitiful, horrible, awful. Are they great drafters? Well, yes, I would say so. Even with Adam Peters, drafting Pearsall and Guerendo, very, very good selections. But were they out of order? Was Pearsall too early? Yes. Adam Peters, we'll see what life is like without Adam Peters 1 or 2 years from now. But this is unbelievable. Smitty on point with this. Thank you, Ramp. Appreciate you. Ramp to the moon. Ramp, appreciate you, my guy. Disgruntled, he won't play as well. Agreed. That's why you trade him. And for anybody that says the Niners have nothing to lose by keeping him, you do. You do, because if he gets injured or plays badly, you're not getting a franchise tag and trade. Teams won't do it. The franchise tag is going to be even higher next year. It's going to keep increasing. These contracts are massive. So a team's going to say, you know what? We're not going to do a franchise tag and trade. if he plays badly or gets injured. There is risk to the Niners holding on to a player they don't see long-term value in when they can get now return. Maybe even get a player. And right now, the way JD5's talking about this thing, how much JD5 wants his best friend, I bet you the Niners could get a defensive piece on top of a second rounder and make this thing work really well for the 49ers. If the 49ers do one thing really well. They trade very well. The 49ers don't give up players for dog water. The 49ers, hence why they're posturing right now. We have no real interest in getting rid of Brandon Aiyuk. Just let them think that. That's what they're doing. Now, will they get rid of him for pennies on the dollar to the highest bidder? No. The Niners won't trade him unless the price is right. JD5 is probably saying in a text message right now, go get him. He requested it. Do whatever you got to do. You got to trade McLaurin. You trade McLaurin. Sorry, Terry. Jahan Dotson, send him. I don't care what you have to do. I don't know that the Niners want a wide receiver back. That dilutes what the return's going to be in the other departments, right? So if I'm a Niner, I don't want McLaurin or Dotson watering down the value you're getting back at the other pieces of the trade. You want a second rounder. You want a potential defensive piece. This could get done. The Washington Commanders might push this thing through in the 11th hour and say, look, JD5 wants it. What JD5 wants, we get. CJ Stroud said, draft Tank Dell and draft him now. They drafted him. Joe Burrow said, draft Jamar Chase. They drafted him. Jalen Hurts wanted a wide receiver. They bring in A.J. Brown. Troy Franklin goes to the Denver Broncos because they draft the quarterback. This is a common practice now to make your quarterback comfortable, to fast track your quarterback, to put your quarterback in the most optimal position to have success going forward. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the closest we're going to get to a Brandon Aiyuk trade. Whether it gets pulled off or not, that's not in my hands. I've called this to a T. We brought it to this point. And we've gotten every single part of this correct. Terry McLaurin for sure says her. Look, McLaurin's older. Let's open up the phone lines real briefly. The phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
I got to convince little Smitty she can get some gummies if she gives me 10 more minutes. Just some gummy bears. I've got the little one home again. She's got strep throat now. We had the pandemic completely wipe out the entire family. Everybody had the COVID. And now the little one got strep throat, and it's just like she's home. I've got the doors slamming. She wants gummy bears. She's holding me ransom right now. She's giving me an ultimatum. I'll come in and destroy your show right now. I'll take down this Brandon Aiyuk live stream if you don't give me a handful of gummy bears, and you better not tell your mom. I'm going to be in trouble. Phone lines are open. Dial into the show. Phone lines are open. Dial in. Travis, you're live. Let's see how long this lasts, this live stream. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, saw it coming. I think Washington is still the best chance because it's the place he wants to go and all that. But I think a lot more teams will get in on it if the Niners are willing to trade him.
For sure.
Like you were saying. I just got an update saying the Patriots actually have been calling on Brandon Aiyuk and got rebuffed. Same thing. They don't want to trade him, but Patriots could work out because they have Matthew Judon who wants a contract extension, and he wouldn't cost nearly as much as a receiver. And that would be a defensive piece that the Patriots could send back if something like Washington doesn't work out. So there's going to be all types of stuff like that.
Yeah, so at the top of the screen, I have all the potential suitors that have been mentioned as of late. I even put the Niners in the corner just for possible landing spots for Aiyuk, or he'll stay in San Francisco. The Chargers are going to be brought up. The Cardinals are going to be brought up. The Buffalo Bills are going to be brought up. The Washington Commanders are clearly in play. The Patriots, the Ravens, and the Steelers. These are kind of the top landing spots that are being rumored. Teams potentially in the mix to get Brandon Aiyuk services. If I had to guess, as we both kind of alluded to, Washington is the lead dog, mainly because that's where Aiyuk wants to go. Like, Aiyuk will go wherever he gets paid, but his best friend, if you could mute yourself, rock out real quickly. There's a lot of background noise, please. This is where Aiyuk's best friend is. Okay, his best friend, they want this to happen. This is kind of like when you're a kid, or even when you weren't a kid, even maybe when you've been an adult and you throw a little temper tantrum. Like, there's something that you got your heart set on. You want it now. Maybe it's a vehicle that no longer is available. Maybe you were buying a house and you had a bid on it and then the person backed out. Just put yourself in that mindset. Aiyuk and JD5 want this to happen. There's like temper tantrum territory if this doesn't go down. I think this is what Aiyuk wants. But Aiyuk does want money. And Aiyuk, at the end of the day, if the Buffalo Bills, let's say, or the Patriots or the Ravens did say, hey, look, we'll pay you $85 million guaranteed. We'll give you that $30 million a year. We'll make you, one of the top 10 wide receivers. And he says, you know what? That's fine. He goes somewhere where taxes are a little bit better. That's also going to play a big part on whether the contract fits or looks right. Tyreek Hill is the reason he took the deal he did was because of that difference. So there's a whole lot of implications here. A whole lot of players or teams could get in the mix. But these do feel like the top dog potential landing spots, with Washington taking the major front runner seat, just because it's what they want. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be crazy. We got gummy bear. I got gummy bears. Give me 5 more minutes. I'll give you a handful of gummy bears you've never seen before in your entire life. You hear me? To the likes you've never seen. A bigly amount of gummy bears. Bigly. Okay. Rock out. You're live on the phone. What's up?
Yeah, as a Commanders fan, I would want him to go to Commanders, but as far as the best spot, I think the Bills would be the best spot for him.
The Bills would be a good spot. I will say that I'll be semi-depressed for Keon Coleman's value and the Keon Coleman project.
Yeah.
But the benefit of Josh Allen, I have so many Josh Allen shares and so much invested in that. We're okay with that. We're okay with the Buffalo Bills situation. That's no problem. Little Smitty, give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, please. This is a big show. This is a big show, little Smitty. Please. But yeah, no, I would love to have the Bills land him. That would be. I mean, look, my two teams are the Bills and the Cardinals. That's where my family's from. So these are the only two teams at the end of the day when fandom comes into play that matter to me. I would love this for Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. You guys know how much I love Josh Allen. I'm okay surrendering the Keon Coleman experiment for the sake of Aiyuk, Deebo, Pearsall, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills winning games, potentially winning a Super Bowl, all of that coming together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm totally willing, just like I'm willing to sacrifice Dotson and McLaurin to have Aiyuk go up a little bit in value, to have JD5 and the Washington Commanders go up in value. All of that goes up tremendously.
Yeah, how you think Deebo's value will go up if that trade happens?
Deebo goes to the moon, bro. He's already on the moon man. He's already on the moon man list. No doubt about it. But he gets. I mean, everybody's going to agree. Essentially, what's going to happen are people are going to catch up to our evaluation on Deebo, and then everyone's going to be on the same page, unfortunately. But Deebo's a moon man for a freaking reason, and
the moon man dropping loads and out.
Part of Deebo being on that board is a little presumptuous that an opening could happen. Like, that's factored in a little bit, but it's not guaranteed. So he doesn't come off the moon man list if a trade doesn't go down. But part of that is why he's on there. We got the gummy bears. Hold on, please.
Yeah, big one.
The big gummy bears. That one's the size of this room. Maybe we could put her in the corner with the bag of them. And just have her in a little picture-in-picture, just eating away. She gets through one, I hand her another. I don't know that we need to go through too much more. I do got to get back to. She got strep throat. She's a trooper. She's watching cartoons and she's sitting right here. But I got to get back to it. And this live stuff, these breaking news things always happen when I'm unavailable. I'm either out of the studio. I was at the doctor with her. I took her to the doctor, and of course this thing broke. I saw it on my watch, and I'm not gonna lie. You want to know exactly what I did when I looked at my watch? I got the alert on my watch from Twitter. I was sitting there. I was putting the little one back in the car seat. I was locking it all up, and it got a ping. And I just looked at my watch. It says Brandon Aiyuk officially requested trade. I slammed the door and I walk around and I go, I gotta admit, I get gratitude when things like this go the way that we predict they're gonna go. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I live for this stuff. Rockout says Smitty goes live whenever there's breaking news. Thank you for that super chat. Rockout dropped another one. It's the Niner way, right? How's it working out? Says Rockout. The Niner way of signing players is the worst way. It's just insane. And the way the Niner fans defend it's weird too. Like, didn't you at this point? Don't you get tired of it? Calvin Krim, $5 hauler. Hey Smitty, 105 targets for Aiyuk last year under Shanahan's offense. Pair him with JD5 and he hits 130 easy. That man solidifies him as a fantasy football wide receiver 1. You know what's funny is I think if Aiyuk did get traded, Niner fans wouldn't even understand that JD5 is a monster. They think he's just a gadget quarterback that runs the ball. They don't realize that he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. A lot of people don't, and that's okay. Bryson, do you think Aiyuk's value goes down from this? No, as I just alluded to, you sent him over to play with his best friend. The rapport's already there. You can't package or build that into a situation. Like these are best friends, bro. They talk to each other 4 to 5 times a day, and they FaceTime 2 or 3 times a day. And so he would be throwing to Aiyuk all day long. They're former teammates in college. $10 super chat from Superfish. This will catch us up on the super chat, so I appreciate Superfish for dropping this. This one says, if the Niners are going to lose Aiyuk, I hope it's to the Redskins. Definitely not the Bills. Little Miss Smitty is pretty good negotiator trading for gummy bears. Definitely. She knows what she's doing. I told her not to can you give me a little bit of time? She's just sitting there watching Bluey on the TV right there, but she knows as soon as I get into a mode, she can come in and get, because she's got experience with it. She knocks on the door, especially when she bangs on it. I don't know if you could hear it. It's like the cracking. She's like, and she knows the louder she gets, the more desperate I get to be like, what do you need? What do you need? A lollipop? How many gummies? Miss Smitty doesn't watch the show at all. I don't think she's ever watched. I don't think she's ever turned it on. So I know I'm probably safe unless one of her friends or coworkers or somebody's watching and they're going to tattle on me and say, Smitty's giving little Smitty a bunch of gummy bears. But it is what it is. I don't have, when she's sick, we can't send her to relatives or anything. So it ends up being, it comes down upon me because I have the luxury of working for myself from home. I am the safety net. If she gets sick, we can't send her to grandparents anymore. We can't send her to anywhere. So it's like so she's sitting out there, and this kid catches everything. This kid's like Brandon Aiyuk, catches everything that goes near, especially when JD5's feeding the rock to him. Let's go over to Ron Navy, who's on the line. Ron Navy, does Brandon Aiyuk get traded? Or did the
I don't. San Francisco's in a no-win situation here, I think.
It's not an easy situation, that's for sure. If he does get traded? If he does get traded, where's he end up? You're probably gonna say Pittsburgh, right?
No, I already spoke to him. I don't think Pittsburgh will sign him. I don't think
too
Pittsburgh
expensive.
will give up what it takes to sign him.
Yeah, too expensive too. I don't think they're going to pay that.
I'd like to see him, but I don't see it happening.
You're pretty muffled there. You're pretty muffled there, Ron. You sound like you're calling from inside a towel.
Hold on a second.
Steelers could use him because Van Jefferson is a wide receiver too right now.
Ron?
All right, is that better?
Yeah, that's better. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know what's gonna go down. It really is. I mean, I predicting it to this point's one thing. Predicting that trying to predict what Shanahan's gonna do is a whole nother thing. Because look what he did with Trey. Look what he did with Jimmy Garoppolo over and over and over. Look what he's done with so many situations. So This guy Shanahan is the worst decision maker in certain categories of this thing. Like, he is such a good offensive coordinator. He's one of the very best scheme artists in the entire league. Scheme architects, offensive coordinators. It's kind of like Kingsbury. Kingsbury's amazing. But as a head coach, Kingsbury makes a lot of mistakes, and maybe he'll improve upon that. I'm not saying Kingsbury will never regain that status, but the same things that you could say about Kingsbury, you could say about Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's offensive coordinating is why they win games. People say, well, then how'd they end up in a Super Bowl? Because he's a great offensive coordinator. How'd they end up losing? Because he's a bad head coach. And look, the Niners almost lost they lost the last game, but they almost lost the other two. They got really, really lucky against the Detroit Lions. That wasn't the Niners winning. That was the Lions losing. But
and Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay.
Too.
Yeah, that was exciting. That was an exciting game. Green Bay's coming forever, but they're going to try and
But
prove it.
here's what I'm
Hey,
wondering.
Smitty, I got to jump.
All right, let Travis later.
See you guys later.
Hey, Travis.
Bye.
He hung up.
Here's what I'm wondering. You alluded to it. You said, like, you know, if they don't sign him and he holds out in training camp and this and that, you know, then he's more prone to be injury as you're prone to not be good. And so what if San Francisco is that I mean, I'm sure they are, where they hold on to him on purpose. So whatever team they decide to trade him to, he doesn't have the ability to have full training camp, and he doesn't have the ability to prepare for that other team. And isn't he in the same situation though?
Yeah,
Higher risk of injury.
Of course, and I've said this before. Like, this needs to happen now for me to be 100% feeling good, or not even 100. At this point, he's already in a certain territory of risk of injury. You know, like if he goes over to Washington now, you know, he might have a bumpy, like, coming out party. Maybe. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But the longer this takes, no matter if he's in Washington or he's in San Francisco, and I said this the other night, the more risk of injury. That's unfortunate, too. Doesn't mean I won't like him. Doesn't mean I won't invest. It could be a minor injury. But injury risk goes up dramatically every single day from this point forward as we head into even close to August. Once we're in August, we're in dangerous territory. Historically, you hold out and you miss time, you're either out of tune and out of sync like Deebo was all year. There's no way you can be the exact same, you know, in shape, the exact same in mental and physical and emotional condition outside of the team facility. Not to mention the toll this is taking on him emotionally. You know, and some will say he's creating it for himself. He's not. Like, this guy wants to be signed. Deebo wanted to be signed. It was not Deebo's fault that the Niners dragged everything out. And there's still a chance that Aiyuk signs just like Deebo did. And this is a ploy to get the Niners to take one more stab at it and give him what he wants. And that's certainly in the cards, no doubt about it. But like you said, or like you're at your question, there definitely is an injury risk that goes up every single day. Doesn't matter what uniform he has on. So we got to keep that in mind when we're drafting him. But would I take him at 3.1? I don't think if he got traded to the Commanders, I think he'd go in the second round just from the excitement for people. But I would take him in the third round for sure. But I don't think his location, unless it was Buffalo right now, he goes to Buffalo and you got Josh Allen and all those targets, I don't think there's a second round draft slot waiting for him in my mind. I think 3.1 is good. Third drafted player, I'd probably take that gamble. Not every time because of the injury risk that's injected into the situation. But Aiyuk in Washington, third rounder, easily for me. But second rounder, it's tough because there are so many. It's not so much that I don't like Aiyuk. I like so many other players better.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know they're going to be pushing, he's worth the first round draft pick. He's worth this. He's worth that. But
Rock Out, have you... Let me go to Rock Out real quick. Rock Out, have you spoke yet? I don't know if you have. Rock Out, you're live.
Yeah, I spoke.
Oh, you did. Okay. Sebastian, real quickly, you're live. In case little Smitty comes in, I might have to bail in a second.
Yeah, I think, honestly, Aiyuk, since this has been so far dragged out, I think he does get traded mid-season to like a contender, a borderline wildcard team. I could see him going maybe to the Jets, even the Commanders. Well, I mean, obviously the Commanders is right now, but just from that vantage point of being contenders, wanting to double down and try to hit a good run this year. And I do think that if he does get traded to the Commanders before the season starts, I think the consensus is that he actually will fall a little bit because not a lot of people are high on JD5, which is a good thing, right? And I also do think Deebo does go to the 1-2 turn if he does get traded before the season starts.
Yeah, Deebo's a second-round lock. Deebo has probably the more likelihood, I agree, to climb the second-round material from this trade if it were to come to fruition. I do believe that Aiyuk would be exciting. You could see both of them climb, though. The reason I think people are going to love Aiyuk in Washington is because I think maybe the fantasy world knows how good JD5 is. They don't know how good he's going to be fully, but they know he's going to be exciting. I think as we get closer to August, maybe that's where we would see Aiyuk climb up. Like if he got traded today to the Commanders, maybe you're right. A couple weeks, people marinate on it, but after a while, they start rising him up in the ADP ranks. But yeah, 3.1 would be where I would go. I hope he stays there. If he stays there, that'll be good for me because then I can invest a little bit. But I definitely don't think he's second-round material unless he's in Buffalo. And I feel that way about him in San Francisco. I don't think he's second-round material. I like him a lot, but San Francisco does not use him like St. Brown's used in Detroit. That's one of the Niners' arguments for not paying him St. Brown money, is because they're like, well, look, you may be as good as St. Brown in your mind, Aiyuk, but we don't use you that way. And he's probably going to go, yeah, I need more targets, like he said at the end of the year. And his girlfriend said, we're out of here. We're never returning here again, as if they've got control over that. They don't. But that's the whole knock here, is that the Niners don't use him enough. They didn't throw him the ball enough. He was wide receiver 14, and he should have been a lot higher if they threw to him, but they don't, and the Niners won't. And if he plays on his fifth-year option and there's no contract, they're going to throw even less to him because they're going to get Ricky Pearsall versed and ready to go for the ball. They got to get him ready for the ball. They can't have him not prepared. They can't have him go into 2025 with no experience. So guess who's going to be the person that's going to give up a little bit of their timeshare? It's going to be the guy that's not going to be there next year. So if
what does that do to ADP?
Pearsall's ADP is going to skyrocket if Aiyuk is in Washington or elsewhere.
40 right now.
He's going to go to freaking high-end wide receiver 3 material. Like he'll go where Keon Coleman's going right now. Where Keon Coleman's going right now as a starting number 1 wide receiver for Buffalo. That's where Ricky Pearsall's probably going to climb right to. Where you're drafting this guy to be a starting wide receiver 3 in fantasy from the jump. And that might be a tall order, but at some point I think he deserves it. I don't know if he'll get it right away. But Ricky Pearsall is the real deal if you give him enough work. Because he catches everything thrown to him. He's very quick. He'll be able to get separation in the NFL right away. And Shanahan's system will get him and scheme him open on top of all that. I can't imagine Ricky's not extremely valuable. As I told people all offseason, what are the words that I used? The phrase that I constantly said, I think Ricky Pearsall's story starts this year, not next year. It's just my gut instinct on it. I had no inside information on this happening. That was just what I've been saying and why Ricky Pearsall's been sitting on the Moon Men list right here.
The Moon Men dropping loads.
I just feel like I can't see his story beginning next year. It's just something I can't envision. All right, hey, I got to cycle everybody off the phone line real quick. Bruce, what's up, Bruce? Let me hit you real quick.
Hey, Smitty, do you think with the Aiyuk trade and requesting, how much do you think that affects T. Higgins?
None.
None?
Yeah. I don't think I think the Bengals could care less. The Bengals are planning on Jermaine Burton being the number 2 in Cincinnati. They're renting T. Higgins for a year. They don't want to not rent him. They want to have him rented for a year. And I think the requesting of a trade, nobody's interested in T. Higgins. Not like they are Brandon Aiyuk. I think T. Higgins has some value next year, especially if he plays well. But I think a lot of people are like, would we take him? Yeah, but we take him on the valuation that Aiyuk's asking for? No. And that's the other thing, too, is I don't know that a lot of teams want to pay Brandon Aiyuk what Aiyuk wants. I think the caveat here, the one piece of really good news is that the Washington Commanders have the pressure of JD5 in their ear saying, I want this guy. Like Tank Dell and Houston and Stroud, I want this guy. And Washington's going to say, look, we put our faith in JD5. This is what JD5 wants. We need to do everything we can to try and make this work. The Niners might step in the way of that because we can't predict Shanahan. Every time I try and predict this guy, I'm wrong 50% or more times. So this is where this is where it stops for me. I don't have a good read on anything going forward because Shanahan is completely unpredictable and not in a good way. He's just erratic. He's a psychopath in some ways. He's a narcissist. He's a stubborn man that would be scared and petrified to bring in Vrabel as defensive coordinator. If Vrabel said, I want to be the defensive coordinator, you should be thanking your lucky stars and saying, yeah, absolutely, bring him in. What does Shanahan want? Somebody that's a yes man, somebody that can't take his job, somebody that can't outthink him. He doesn't want a smarter person on his roster. He doesn't. Why do you think he said no to Tom Brady? Tom Brady begged to come to the San Francisco 49ers right before he went to Tampa to win a Super Bowl. The Niners could have a Super Bowl right now if Shanahan wasn't so hard-headed, stubborn, and a narcissist. He said no. Jimmy Garoppolo's only a small bit lesser than Tom Brady anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and keep Jimmy Garoppolo because he's a yes man. And Tom Brady knows more than Shanahan, and that scares the piss out of Shanahan. That's what makes Shanahan not a good coach. Shanahan will never be a great coach if he can't overcome his stubbornness and his narcissism. Plain and simple. Otherwise, you would have a championship in San Francisco at the hand of Tom Brady, who begged to come and play football right before he still went and won another championship for the Bucs. There's no excuse here. You can't argue Shanahan isn't a problem.
And here's my last question.
All right.
And hopefully Miss Little Smitty gets better soon. My last question is, do you think the 49ers know he wants to go to the Commanders? So like, okay, we'll trade you, but for a first and second, nothing less. Like, they're going to just demand more out of that team.
Yeah, say it one more time, Bruce.
Do you think that Aiyuk, since he wants to go to the Commanders and with JD5, you think they're going to be like, okay, well, we're just going to demand more out of them?
Oh, of course they're going to. Of course they're going to try, but the Niners are going to ask for the world, bro. They're going to ask for the world. You know why? Because they have nothing to lose, and I want to make that abundantly clear at the end of this stream here. The Niners have zero reason to give Aiyuk away to the highest bidder. They have every reason in the world to say no and to get the most they can get. Defensive player and a second rounder. Like, they can get whatever the hell they want. They can get whatever the hell they want. Look at this guy. Gina says, wow, the Cardinals suck. oh, damn, Gino, you're on a fantasy football show. What are you even doing here? You don't even understand what room you're in. Okay, so yeah, I don't, bro. The Niners don't have to do a thing. The Niners can do whatever the hell they want. And that's what makes this unpredictable, and which makes this not, even though we want this to happen for Aiyuk and JD5, it's not something that we can guarantee is going to go down. The Commanders have to literally give up the world. And they could give up a defensive piece. They could give up a second rounder. They also have to do all that in conjunction with paying him a massive amount of money. So it is hard for a team to accept. This is why the Steelers won't do it. Ron's right. The Steelers giving up the draft capital that's required to get the deal done and also additionally pay the money that's a tall mother freaking order. That is a tall mother freaking order. So the Steelers are probably not going to be a player. The Ravens, I don't see them wanting to pay Aiyuk and give up this kind of draft capital. The Patriots probably think they can give up a third rounder. They're like, hey, let's go ahead and try. The Bills, I don't think the Bills are interested in doing any big moves. They would have brought in Henry. They would have brought in Saquon Barkley. They would have traded up to try and get a better wide receiver. I love Keon Coleman. I think he's going to work out, but I'm just saying better prospect wide receiver. Buffalo seems like they're content taking their foot off the gas, not to mention they don't have the cap space necessarily to do anything, even though cap space can be moved around. The Cardinals are pretty content. I don't know that they have an interest in giving up young pieces. Monty Ossenfort loves his draft picks anyway. He loves them. I don't know that he's interested in a move, especially the amount of money, but there could be some consideration to it. The Chargers, look, the Chargers asked Keenan Allen after being wide receiver 3 last year to take a pay cut or he's gone. You think the Chargers are going to pay Aiyuk? Get out of here. And so it really comes down to, at the end of the day, logically, breaking all that down, it's whether JD5 can convince the Washington Commanders, I need this. You want a championship? I can bring it to you quicker. Give me Aiyuk, my best friend. So this is the only avenue I think has a logical outcome of Aiyuk being there. Personally.
Okay.
All right, Brucey, appreciate you, bro.
Yep. A little Smitty get better.
Yeah. She fell asleep, so got him.
Got him.
We promised her the gummies until she passed out. All right. Thanks, Bruce. Matt Biaggia, you got 60 seconds. Go.
Just following your whole thing about Aiyuk, you have pretty much nailed it the whole way.
The whole way. Pretty
the
much.
only thing. No, you have. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You have.
Just correcting you.
But
Go ahead.
I pretty much agreed with you, too, because it's never good if a player wants money and they're holding out and they're missing stuff. So, I mean, I get you on that. So I do, being a Cleveland fan, I do worry about Amari Cooper, but I'm not sure if it's the same level as like the Brandon Aiyuk, you know. But, I know you had spoke about the Cooper.
Yeah, let me put you at ease. That is not the same situation at all.
Yeah,
okay. Ziggy, how old is Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper is 30 years old and was born on June 17th, 1994.
30 years old. Amari Cooper is 30 years old, bro. He doesn't get to dictate what he gets. He doesn't get to be a part of this wide receiver market. You know, like Cooper could Cooper get a 1-year extended deal, like a 1-year right size offer? Could he get a smaller contract? Sure. And that's not out of the question. Truly, it isn't. But he's not in the same category at all. He doesn't have a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing is that do NFC teams worry about trading with other NFC teams, or am I looking too much into that?
No, it's definitely a thing that you hear a lot of. Interconference or interdivision trades are a lot more unlikely than interconference trades, but at the same time, I don't understand it. And I don't know that there are teams that have traded inside a division before together. But think about it from this angle. If you're making a fantasy football trade with somebody, and I know fantasy football and NFL trades are a little bit different, but at the same time, it's the same exact concept involved. You know, you're not trying to give your opponent that you're in the same division with a better team so they can beat you, right? But you're trying to win every single trade you make. So if you're winning the trade, you're destroying the other team more than you're helping them. So how in the hell this becomes a problem is weird to me. If you're giving Aiyuk to the Buffalo, or if you're giving Aiyuk to the Arizona Cardinals, let's say interdivision, okay, and you're making the Cardinals a team that's going to potentially knock you out, then you're obviously not making a good balanced trade. You're giving them way more than you're taking from them. So therefore, it's a bad trade. If you're giving Aiyuk to the Cardinals, but you're ripping away pieces of that team that make it to where, you're not that worried about it, unless it's all now value for the Cardinals and future value for the for the Niners, and therefore they're getting the better end of the trade, but they may not see it for a couple years, and they don't necessarily want to lose to the Cardinals. That still, in a sense, is not a great trade because you're going to get taken out by the trade. So there's definitely something to it, but to me, I don't even understand why teams even look at that. I'm going to destroy anybody in a trade. That's my concept of a trade. So
yeah. And then last thing, where would you rank Kyle Shanahan as a coach?
I don't.
How many other coaches would you take before him in the NFL?
Honestly, I wouldn't want him as my coach unless he can kick this stubbornness, or I can take away some of his control and say, you know what, you're an OC. He's a glorified, one of the best OCs we've seen in the NFL ever. He's a savant when it comes to play calling and game scheming and everything, but he is an awful head coach in so many ways. His overwhelming greatness in offensive coordinating overshadows a lot of the negative parts of what he brings to the table. But you get somebody that comes in here and says, Smitty, he made it to a Super Bowl. No, his offensive coordinating made it to a Super Bowl. Not to mention, I don't even agree with that this year. The team carried him into the Super Bowl. Shanahan didn't get them into a Super Bowl. It felt like Shanahan stopped becoming a positive part of the squad in the Green Bay game. It was the Niners as a whole. It was the talent level that drug Shanahan out from the darkness in the Green Bay game. In the Lions game, Shanahan got out coached in both games. Brock Purdy, unbelievable scramble. If that didn't happen, we wouldn't have seen the Detroit Lion game and that comeback. Aiyuk catching that miracle ball off the helmet was absolutely unreal, and the way that thing unraveled on the Lions was insane. This is not Kyle Shanahan getting his team to an NFL Super Bowl last year. I love Shanahan as an OC. He's a savant, but he's not what I would call a great head coach because he's got so many problems. There's got to be
a point you take him for his being so great.
Yes, but I don't know how to answer that question. Spitball.
Gotcha.
I would just say he has a lot to work on. All right, later, Biagio. We'll see you later. All right, John, you've got 30 seconds because I got to roll.
Hey, somebody in the chat wanted to know if sending Herbert in a 25-second was good for JD5. Herbert in a 25-second for JD5. And then my other question would be, do you think the Cowboys would send Micah Parsons, I botched the name, for Aiyuk, and like 2 thirds and 2 firsts?
2 first rounders? 2 first rounders? Who's getting the first rounders?
The Cowboys. Even maybe 1 and 2 thirds. A first and 2 thirds for Aiyuk.
Bro. They're not giving Aiyuk and 2 first rounders for Parsons. There's no way. That is wild. There's no. First of all, the Niners wouldn't overpay. There's no way that's happening. That's a massive deal. I could there be a Parsons? I mean, I don't know. It's possible, but I doubt it. I doubt that the Cowboys give up Parsons. But no, I thought you were saying the other way. I couldn't even tell what side you were talking about because the 2 first rounders being involved like that. I had no idea what side you were throwing those in. No. And the other question, John, what do you think my answer is? You know I love you, pal. I'm not mad at you, but what do you think my answer is? Herbert in a second rounder or JD5? What do you think I'm going to say? Herbert's Vegas line is like 3,500 yards passing. That guy is going to be on empty, gas tank on empty all season long. Harbaugh, what Harbaugh is doing to the Chargers over there, that team is absolutely decimated with talent. He's just destroying it. And yeah, he's a great coach. Let's see what he does with what he builds. But he's tearing the team down, not building it up. Building from the trenches. If you're so worried about running and building from the trenches, why in the hell don't you bring in Barkley or Henry or keep Eckler? You bring in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, the all ACL and Achilles team. These guys aren't even healthy. So I want nothing to do with Herbert. JD5 over Herbert. You don't even need to give second rounders or anything. I'm taking JD. JD5 is going to be a top 5 quarterback. He might be a top 5 quarterback as a rookie.
Appreciate it. It was for somebody else, but
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you know, John, I do appreciate that about you. You do look out for the other guy in the chat. Remember, John super chatted to review the team, and I was ripping it apart. And John's like, "It's not my team." And I'm like, "Then why'd you super chat and ask me to review it?" You're like, "Somebody else wanted it." John, you're a good man. You're a good man, John. Don't change.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, later. Sebastian, final thoughts.
Yeah, what time frame would you guess Aiyuk gets traded? And if it's not the Commanders, who would you think it is?
As I broke down logically, bro, there is no other team. The Buffalo Bills can't really afford it. The Patriots aren't going to do that, I don't think. I mean, the Patriots, it makes sense if you believed in May enough, and I think they do. And I'm not saying I don't, but the Patriots, it doesn't seem like a Patriot move. It's like, I know you got a new regime there, but it feels the same. Baltimore would be the smartest team. You go get Aiyuk and give that's a difference maker. They're already looking amazing. I think we're out of time here. I think we're running low on time here. I can hear the Kraken in the background just smashing doors. Sebastian, I gotta let you run. I'll be back. The Kraken wants some gummy bears. All right, rock out. Final thoughts. Rock out.
Yeah, if Shanahan wants to be a legitimate coach, he has to get up his control. He can't be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, he Shanahan. The fact that he wouldn't bring Brady in, the fact that he wouldn't even consider like Vrabel. Everyone's like, they should look at Vrabel. He wasn't going to look at Vrabel. He wasn't going to hire a guy that people would be like, oh, that guy could be our head coach if Shanahan doesn't do the right thing here. Vrabel, as the defensive coordinator, would have put Shanahan on the hot seat. Shanahan surrounds himself with a bunch of yes men so that he can be the smartest guy in the room, as you just said. Thank you, Rock Out. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, see you.
Ron Navy, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, like I said before, the Steelers can afford to sign Aiyuk. They have the money. It was the draft thing, but you never know. I mean, look at what Khan did, the Magic Man did with Chicago. Can he do it to San Francisco? I wouldn't say there's no chance for Aiyuk. I'd say it's slim, but you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think the Niners, they do make great trades when they trade. So, I don't know. Then again, you could say, maybe things are just different when Peters gone. Not saying Peters is the talent evaluator, but I don't know how much of a role he had even those decisions. You're helping with those. But I think Shanahan, capable of making a mistake, sure. But I think he's more prone to letting Aiyuk rot on the bench versus get rid of him and not get what he wants. So I have a feeling the con man might be up to something, but I don't think it'll happen. Plus, again, it comes down to that damn contract. I don't think the Steelers are willing to pay him $30 million a year. Maybe they are. Who knows? Tough to know because that wide receiver market's blowing up. And in 2 years from now, $30 million is going to be nothing. So, teams could look at it like, let's invest now. And you bring in another receiver like that, and the Steelers have they've doubled up everything. Doubled up at quarterback, doubled up on an offensive lineman that they drafted, doubled up at wide receiver. Like, they're doubling up on everything. It's like NASA over there. So maybe. You never know.
And plus, their players are young, so they don't got a lot invested in them. A lot of them are rookies or second-year, third-year guys.
Yeah.
They don't got to worry about paying them right away, so they could really afford to bring in Aiyuk at that price.
Yeah, they could.
But like I said, it comes down to the draft pick.
Yeah.
And what else they got to give up for them?
All right, Ron.
There we go.
Call back in. I'm gonna go check
Later.
on. I might open the phone line again in a second. I'm gonna go check on little Smitty. But hold on. I'll hang up on you. But hold on 1 second. I might open the phone line again if I come back. Appreciate you, Ron. Ron Navy. Hang tight. I'm gonna go check on little Smitty. I think she passed out again. Hold on. Wait right there. We're good. We're good. She's asleep. She's passed out. Poor thing has strep throat. Not feeling real well. Yeah. If anybody has another phone call, I'm good for another minute or a couple 5 minutes maybe. 5 minutes or 10 maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So sum it all up, guys. Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade officially. Deebo Samuel to the moon if this ends up happening. Ricky Pearsall to the moon if this ends up happening. This is a very, very, very hard to predict situation with Kyle Shanahan involved. I didn't have to give any gummies. And the normal gummy bears, by the way. They're normal gummy bears for those people with a weird mind. Little Smitty is so much... thanks, Johnny Mittens. Okay. This is going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. How many people we got in here? We got about 300 people, sum total in the live stream. We've got about 150 from YouTube still in the building, 124 from X. We've got 10 people still left on Instagram. Tony G from Instagram says, need to send Aiyuk to the Patriots so my Deebo dynasty stock goes through the roof. Attaboy. Smitty, you going to do any super flex draft strategies? Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, CMC to the moon. Yeah, I mean, they're going to try and dial him back to keep him healthy for good reason. All right, guys, I'll be back. I'll be back at 8 p.m., obviously, but I'll probably be back before that if there's any more Brandon Aiyuk news. Let me just look at the news wires real quick to see if there's any sort of update on this. The last update we had was that the Niners didn't want to trade him still. Jet set conversations, play calling Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Let's see here. Anything else on Brandon Aiyuk? The last thing on Brandon Aiyuk was this piece right here. 49ers are telling teams reaching out about Brandon Aiyuk that they have no intention of trading him. That's another report off of that other report, but I think it's all based on the Schefter report. So that's what we have right now. The Niners don't want to trade him. They're going to probably deny his trade request at first. We'll see how big of a stink Aiyuk makes out of this. Let's see if this triggers the Niners to give him what he wants and push the trade negotiation over the edge. But according to this report from Adam Schefter, though, this says... 49ers open trade. Let's see. 49ers have no intention of trading Brandon Aiyuk, who officially requested a trade. Let's see here. This is not the piece that I wanted to read. I think it was this one right here. Yeah. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May. So Aiyuk has respectfully asked to get traded. They haven't negotiated since May. I feel like we've been told all different things from Schefter and Rappaport that don't make sense with this, that they're actively working on a deal. They've continuously actively worked on a deal. They haven't negotiated since May. That doesn't jive with anything that Schefter's been reporting. So I don't know. I don't know what in the hell to think about this situation right now. Appreciate every single one of you being here. Appreciate all my super chatters. Rock out, Calvin, Bryson, Superfish dropping massive wads. Gifted memberships. See if we've got any gifted memberships. By the way, we had Pal Derby drop two $20 gifted memberships, 40 gifted memberships last night on the show, and I didn't see it. So Pal Derby, if you're watching, I want to make sure Pal Derby's in the house when we give him a standing ovation, but I'm going to give him one anyway in case he sees the replay of this. Mashed potatoes! Pal Derby to the mother freaking moon. Thank you, pal. Deebo also requested a trade. No! You don't say, Jimmy. You don't say. Jimmy, I told you that. You didn't tell me that, Jimmy. I told you that. Okay? I told you Deebo was going to request a trade. I also told you that Aiyuk was going to request a trade. I told you, Jimmy. We told you. Try and tell me Deebo requested a trade. Unreal. What else we got real quickly? Let's take one more caller. Dial in. Dial in right now to the phone line. One more.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
I think Kyle just gifted 10 memberships right now. Kyle just gifted 10 memberships right now. Let Kyle cook.
Let him cook.
Appreciate you. Oh, we got Scuba Steve. We haven't heard from Scuba Steve in a while. Scuba, where you been, bro? You been?
Hey, what's up, my man?
You been at scuba school? What have you been doing, bro?
I just been working, man. I've been trying to check out the show, but every time I want to check it out, I end up just been enjoying the summer, man. But it's good to see you, brother.
Kyle Howard, 10 gifted memberships, monster. I'm good, bro. What do you think about this situation? Hit me with something. Go. You're the final caller. Congratulations.
Well, all right. I'm hoping that he goes to the Patriots, man. I mean, I'm a big Patriots fan, so I know that they've been trying to trade for him. The 49ers have been saying that they don't want to trade him. I don't know if this is like bait, that trying to bait all these teams there. We're not trying to trade him as if they want to hold out and get that Godfather deal for Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know. It is kind of interesting, especially like I just listened to you and you said that they haven't talked since May. So I mean, I don't really know what they're doing. If they don't want to pay the guy and they don't want to trade him, well, I mean, what are they going to do? To me, man, I think that this maybe this is like the beginning of the end for like the 49ers, like crumbling, man. I know they had all this talent. Maybe this is like frustrations are coming out that they haven't been winning, and maybe it's coming down.
Yeah, I would say real quickly, Kyle Howard gifted 20 memberships and 10 memberships. Kyle has gifted 30 total memberships, which unlocks the briefcase because he drops so many super chats and he gets a $50 Denny Holler.
$50. Give me $50 holler. Right there by the brother Smitty. Give me $50. Oh, yeah.
So this unlocks the briefcase. Appreciate you, Kyle, for dropping all of those gifted memberships for everybody. Unloading, making a mess of my office, Kyle Howard. Appreciate you. Totally empty briefcase. Thank you, Kyle. I always appreciate a dirty studio when it comes to that kind of drop, so thank you. Yeah, I don't know that the Niners are falling apart necessarily. They've got one more, I think, really good year before CMC drops off entirely. I think maybe at 28 years old, CMC has trouble staying healthy this year. That could be the demise. But I think it's all tied to Christian McCaffrey. The moment Christian McCaffrey's no longer the guy, and if Garendo, and he might be, if Garendo's not a phenom replacement, and he could be, we like Garendo a lot, then I think this thing looks so different. This entire situation looks completely different the moment we no longer have Christian McCaffrey. Kevin says, I knew you were going to go live on the stream. You have been talking about Aiyuk potentially wanting to leave. Yes. Definitely predicted this for months, bro. Kyle Howard, I appreciate you. So, Scuba, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I think there's definitely, the window's closing for the Niners, but I don't know that it's completely shut yet. You still got a tremendous amount of talent. But you might be right in that, if Aiyuk gets traded, maybe they mess with the formula. But that might be why Shanahan doesn't trade him. But I don't know that that's necessarily not going to backfire, because if Aiyuk's disgruntled and he's not ready and he's holding out and he shows up late and then he gets hurt and he doesn't play well anyway, they could have got something for him in trade, and now the whole wide receiver room's kind of jostled around. So tough to know, bro. It's definitely confusing to figure, especially with Shanahan. He's so hard to predict. He's very unpredictable. Niners have all the cards right now. Smitty says Hassan with a $2 hauler. They definitely have, I wouldn't say all the cards, bro. They definitely have, they're holding leverage that Aiyuk doesn't have, but Aiyuk's got leverage of being a pain in the rear end. This is a problem. When you don't show up, when you're probably going to get hurt because you're holding out. These are all things that you consider when you have an asset that's not coming in. You got to figure out if there's a better alternative and solution. And like I said, Hassan, it comes down to this. They might have full control, but they don't have all the cards. For a trade to happen, you need two components. You need a disgruntled or divided situation, so there's a divide between the player and the team. Then they're willing to part with you, right? There's a little bit of a divide. That divide is present. The only other component needed is an offer that the team that has the asset, an offer they can't refuse. That's it. That's as simple as trading is in the NFL. That's as simple as it is, bro. Real quick, hold on one second, Scuba. Space Cat says Keeper Superflex just traded Tyreek and Javonte Williams away for Bijan and Pearsall. Trade calculator says I lose. You didn't lose. You didn't lose. Tyreek and Javonte for Bijan and Pearsall. I don't know how. That wasn't my trade calculator that said it lose. Did you use my trade calculator? My trade calculator would have told you smashed the hell out of that trade. Why would you not use my trade calculator at thefantasyfootballshow.com? I invented the trade calculator in the fantasy industry, bro. Okay, I've been doing this for 23 plus years, and I got into the industry because no one had a trade calculator. So I brought it to the equation. Appreciate you with the $5 hauler. Smashed the hell out of that trade, bro. You smashed the hell out of that trade. Kyle, appreciate you dropping all these gifted memberships. Scuba, you got anything else, bro?
I want to say thanks to Kyle, man. I was one of the people that got gifted that membership, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And just the stuff that you're talking about Bijan, man. I'm excited for him. I feel like Arthur Smith's curse. He's finally free, man. And I'm gonna try and draft to get him wherever I can, depending on where he is, where I'm picking. If I have an opportunity to grab him, I just want to take him because I feel like this is gonna be the unleashing of Bijan, man. Like whoever's on that coaching staff, they're just gonna show off like the type of skill set that he can do, and maybe it'll be the same thing for Kyle Pitts too. Who knows?
All right. Well, appreciate you, bro. Call in anytime. Good luck with work and everything, but dial in more frequently. We're here. I'm here whenever news breaks. I'm here Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. I'm here at midnight Eastern almost every single night. There's no excuse, Scuba. Get back here, all right?
Yeah, I will. I'll call in tonight.
All right, let it, bro. Talk about gifted memberships. Give to you, Smitty. Talk about what the gifted memberships give to you. So it's kind of like a super chat, essentially. YouTube takes their cut, but any super chat or gifted membership they send to the creator to like a 70% a clip. So they take a big chunk of it. Senior Rojo, but I'm grateful for the platform. I'm grateful for anybody that drops anything. Today, my granddaughter was born, and you just topped it off with a gifted membership. Thanks, brother. Kyle Howard getting the call out from Senior Rojo. Senior, congratulations on the little one. Congratulations. JD5 equals MVP, says Chester. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, bro. JD5 is going to be so special. It's going to happen right away. If he gets Aiyuk, it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievable. Smitty, where do you pick up Deebo early second? If a trade happens, he's already a second rounder for me. He's an emergency second round pick for me. But yes, absolutely, I take Deebo Samuel in round 2 if Aiyuk gets traded out of there. Appreciate you all. I will catch you later at 8 p.m. Eastern. I actually have food that's been sitting out in I ordered eggs and all that. It's been sitting there for an hour and 23 minutes because you're more important. I work for you. I'll see you all later. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Kyle dropping 30 gifted memberships. Super chatters of the night, or the day. Space Cat, Hassan, Superfish, Bryson, Calvin Krim, Rock Out. Thank you guys for dropping those. And celebratory messages, I guess I didn't see any. Let me just check real quick. Celebratory messages, yeah, we do got 2. They're going to trade him. They are Cap Badley. Oh, the salary cap? Okay. Grant celebrates 6 months. I see the Falcons hat. Is that a sign? Not for Aiyuk, but definitely a sign that Bijan's going to the moon, pal. All right, see you all tonight at 8 p.m. or sooner. Appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Bijan Robinson. I like long walks on the beach. And, well, I also like scoring.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.